On a desolate Scottish island battered by cyclonic winds and encircled by an ink-black sea, Michael Mason, Jason Statham, lives a ghostly existence far from the noise of modern life. In this end-of-the-world setting, he tirelessly repairs his rugged wooden cabin and fishes to meet his basic needs, strictly avoiding any modern technology that might betray his location. His only links to humanity are Jessie, a sharp-eyed teenager, and her uncle, who occasionally dock to trade supplies for fresh fish and rare, quiet conversation. Mason speaks little, but his steel-blue eyes never leave the horizon, scanning every ripple of the ocean as if waiting for an inevitable threat. Despite his appearance as a simple hermit, his movements reveal a millimetric military discipline. He rises long before dawn, scans the sea with precision binoculars, and always keeps a knife within reach, hidden under his weathered jacket. One senses that this exile is not born of a love for nature, but is a desperate survival strategy against a past that haunts him. Mason does not live here, he hides here, acutely aware that his fragile peace depends on the absolute silence of a world that likely believes he is dead. Destiny shifts during a storm of unprecedented violence while Jessie and her uncle attempt a perilous crossing to reach the island. Under the assault of monstrous waves, their makeshift boat is shattered against the jagged reefs in a roar of splintering wood. Without a moment's hesitation, Mason plunges into the freezing water, fighting the currents to pull Jessie from the ocean's grasp, but her uncle is swept into the abyss before the helpless girl's eyes. This heroic rescue comes at a terrible price. The intense physical effort and the thermal chaos generated by the accident draw the attention of stealth surveillance drones patrolling at high altitude. In seconds, facial recognition algorithms identify Mason, shattering his 10-year anonymity and sending a red alert across global networks. Jessie, traumatized and now orphaned, has nowhere else to go and remains under her protector's care. Mason, seeing the reflection of a drone in the inky sky, understands that his cover is blown. He unearths heavy, sealed metal crates from beneath his cabin floor, revealing a high-tech arsenal he had never stopped maintaining. The following night, the island's silence is broken by the low hum of stealth helicopters dropping an elite intervention team. These men move with surgical precision, but Mason, in his element, cuts the lights and transforms the darkness into an ally. He guides Jessie through a concealed exit tunnel, moving like a phantom to eliminate intruders one by one with a brutal efficiency that both terrifies and fascinates the young girl. Jessie watches the taciturn hermit metamorphose into an implacable warrior, capable of neutralizing heavily armed assailants with frightening economy of movement. The attackers, communicating via radio, use his old code name, confirming that Mason's past is a bloody reality he can no longer deny. The island, once his sacred refuge, abruptly becomes a death trap where every rock could hide a sniper. Aware that more reinforcements are arriving, Mason decides they must leave the archipelago before the first light of dawn, as there is no turning back in this war he thought he had escaped. They escape on an old motorized rubber dinghy, speeding toward the mainland while Mason sets fire to his own cabin to erase all DNA or technological traces. Once ashore, they begin a nocturnal odyssey, avoiding main roads and the urban video surveillance cameras that now grid the country like a spiderweb. Jessie asks questions, seeking to understand the identity of the man who saved her, but Mason remains vague, instead teaching her the art of observation and the value of silence. To him, modern society has become a glass prison where every phone and every street corner represents a potential threat to their survival. Mason attempts to contact an old ally via a disposable phone, but the man, terrified at the mere mention of his name, abruptly hangs up, confirming the colossal power of the agency tracking them. Jessie begins to grasp the magnitude of the danger. She is no longer just a survivor, she is the accomplice of a man the state considers the most dangerous weapon ever created. Mason knows they cannot run forever, he must find a way to cut off the head of the snake before they are cornered. They find temporary shelter in a dilapidated roadside motel, a place forgotten by time where Mason finally consents to lift the veil on his past. He reveals to Jessie that he was once the government's most effective assassin, a remorseless killing machine until the day he refused to execute an innocent civilian target, breaking the blood pact with his employers. Since that day, he has been labeled a critical failure, a dangerous liability possessing too many state secrets to remain alive. Jessie listens to his story with a mix of fear and admiration, finally seeing the broken man behind the facade of violence. But the confession is short-lived. Mason perceives the discreet whistle of a reconnaissance drone before it is even visible. They escape through a back window just seconds before an assault team blows the door to their room. The hunt becomes psychological, as Mason realizes that the agency's predictive AI anticipates his every move, turning their flight into a deadly chess game where the enemy always seems to have a move ahead. During the days spent in hiding, an unexpected father-daughter bond is woven between the old soldier and the teenager. Mason protects Jessie with a determination that goes beyond mere survival. To him, she represents the innocence he lost decades ago on nameless battlefields. For the first time since his exile, he reveals buried emotions, and Jessie even manages to coax a few smiles from him despite the constant pressure of the hunt. This bond, while restoring a part of his humanity, also constitutes his greatest weakness, as the agency quickly identifies Jessie as the ideal pressure point. Their enemies begin broadcasting false information and manipulating social media to create emotional traps designed to lure them into the open. Mason nearly falls into one of these ambushes out of an overzealousness to protect the girl, realizing that the stakes have changed. It is no longer about escaping to save his own skin, but about sacrificing himself if necessary so that Jessie has a future. His mission of survival transforms into a crusade to preserve the life of another, his ultimate chance for redemption. Mason decides to go on the offensive and infiltrates a secondary government data center, a bastion of concrete and servers buried under a national forest. Inside, he discovers the existence of an ultra-secret predictive program used to track and eliminate targets before they even act. His own profile is still marked as active and priority. After a violent confrontation in the server rooms where he must demonstrate all his stealth, he manages to erase part of the data but understands that the heart of the system is elsewhere. Jessie, staying at the entrance to keep watch, shows exemplary courage, refusing to be sidelined despite her obvious fear. They learn that to definitively stop the hunt, they must strike the very source of the algorithm, located in a high-security complex. Mason realizes he can no longer run, he must destroy the surveillance mechanism to be free. Jessie insists on accompanying him to the end, and they are now an unlikely but formidable team, a man broken by war and a teenager whose determination was forged in adversity. The duo enters the central complex, a clinical fortress where every corridor is monitored by biometric sensors and elite guards. Mason finds himself facing former colleagues who recognize him, creating moments of unbearable tension where some hesitate to fire on their former legend. The fights become personal, each blow struck reawakening painful memories of past betrayals. Jessie plays a crucial role by manually hacking the building's power supply, plunging the complex into a chaos that gives them a temporary tactical advantage. They progress through the secure levels, Mason using Jessie as his eyes in the network while he handles their physical advancement. They finally reach the central control room, a dome of glass and screens where the agency director, the man who orchestrated Mason's downfall, is waiting for them. The director sees Mason as a statistical anomaly that must be erased for the system to be perfect, refusing any form of negotiation. The deadlock is total, and Mason knows the outcome of this confrontation will decide the fate of privacy worldwide. The final confrontation is of unheard-of brutality, a close-quarters fight where Mason deploys the full extent of his tactical genius. While he neutralizes the last bodyguards, he attacks the central servers, physically destroying them one by one to cut the data flow. Jessie, nearly captured by an undercover agent, manages to free herself with unexpected bravery, using the self-defense techniques learned on the road. Internal explosions shake the building, plunging the scene into a darkness streaked with sparks from short-circuited systems. The director attempts to escape with the data on physical media, but Mason catches him in an exhausting hand-to-hand struggle on a metal walkway. 10 years of accumulated exile rage is unleashed, and Mason finally wins the duel, putting a definitive end to the pursuit. Around them, the agency's archives burn, and the universal tracking system ceases to broadcast. Silence finally returns to the devastated complex, marked by the smell of ozone and scorched metal, signifying the end of an era of total surveillance. Outside the burning complex, police sirens wail in the distance, but Mason and Jessie slip away into the night, aware that the direct threat is gone but the world remains a complex place. Jessie, full of hope, asks what they will do next, perhaps imagining a life together on a new island. Mason remains silent for a long moment, his face marked by fatigue and wisdom. He knows he cannot return to his Scottish island and, more importantly, he cannot stay with her without putting her life at risk in the long term. Jessie deserves a normal existence, far from violence, guns, and the shadows of espionage. This choice is more painful for him than any physical combat. He must tear himself away from this emotional bond to truly save her. He decides to entrust her to trusted people, members of an underground refugee aid network he once knew. Jessie cries, at first refusing to leave him, but she eventually understands her protector's ultimate sacrifice. They say goodbye without words, in an exchange of glances that says more than any speech could. The final scene shows Mason observing Jessie from afar, hidden in the shadows of a suburban park. He sees her entering a warm home, greeted by kind faces, ready to start a new life under a new secure identity. For the first time in the entire film, Mason truly smiles, a smile of peace and duty accomplished. He knows he has finally repaired a part of his past by saving this innocent soul, transforming his guilt into a constructive act. He then turns away and disappears into an anonymous crowd, becoming just another face in a large metropolis. Without a fixed refuge, without possessions, he now owns something much more precious, a regained inner peace. His exile is no longer a flight endured through fear, but a conscious choice to live on the margins to watch over the fragile balance he helped restore. He walks with a light step, freed from the weight of servers and algorithms that once defined him as a mere target. Mason sinks into the unknown with a new serenity, aware that the world remains a dangerous place, but that he is no longer a lost man. The film ends on a note of quiet hope, showing that even after being a war machine, one can find their humanity through empathy and sacrifice. The agency's threat has been dismantled, leaving room for a future where individuals have a chance to live without being constantly scrutinized. Mason disappears into the urban landscape, leaving behind the legend of a man who defied the system to save a single life. His story is that of a shelter, found not in concrete walls or isolated islands, but in the hearts and actions of those who choose to protect the weakest. The camera rises, showing the city waking up under a soft light, symbolizing the end of the global winter and the return of a form of freedom. Mason may be alone, but he is finally free.